I hope you're having a beautiful day. You're listening to the Fatboy Show on RX Radio, and I am Fatboy here hanging out with Olive. And Uganda is a very, very interesting country, especially with regards to how the judicial system works, how when people get arrested, sometimes they get pardoned. It's all very confusing. Earlier in the week, there was that story about the permanent secretary, and I don't know which ministry, but
Jimmy Ramafa.
Yes, he was implicated in some embezzlement scheme, corruption scheme, and he was sentenced to jail for 7 years, I believe, and was pardoned by the president.
He was among 200 others. Please state everything, because
okay, so among 200 other corrupt people?
No, over 200 people. 200 people were pardoned by the president, so he was among those.
Okay, so he was among those. All right, but very notably so. And now, we're learning that the General Court Martial in Makindye has dropped charges against former Inspector General of Police, General Kale Kayihura.
Yep.
So, speaking to journalists shortly after the court process that took place yesterday, Wednesday, General Kayihura said that he was happy that justice had finally been served after a long wait. He said, quote, "I never lost confidence that I will get justice. Happy it has been finally served. I want to thank the UPDF leadership, escorts and friends, and above all God who has sustained me and by his grace made this possible." Now, Kayihura, who is 67 years old, had been charged with failure to protect war material by issuing arms to unauthorized persons, including Boda Boda 2010 members led by Abdallah Kitatta between 2010 and 2018. He had also been accused by the army of aiding and abetting the kidnapping and repatriating of Rwandan exiles and refugees and also Ugandan citizens to Rwanda between 2012 and 2016, charges which he denied. And this, was a whole big deal. So the dropping of these charges comes in time as the NRA Bush War General is among those set to retire from active service of the UPDF at a function to be held at Entebbe State House. So question, why were the charges dropped?
I'm yet to get the full story as regards why the charges were dropped.
Now, is it that a lot of these prosecutions seems to be prosecutions to inconvenience you rather than any real attempt to incarcerate, and people have said that. So I don't know if there was any intention for him to be found guilty and to serve time, because these actions that he's being accused of committing, is it the kind of thing he could have done without the knowledge of others and approval of others?
What is being others by others? You mean what?
No, I guess. No, well, other people in the power structure. I'll just leave it at that. I'll just say others.
Okay.
Just to keep it, nice and easy.
It is said, at least from political commentators and analysts, they are of the view that at some point he had become too big to handle, and he had, for lack of a better word, gone rogue. There are things he was doing that were not being stamped by the powers that be. So he had started operating on his own. That is what is said.
Okay, and I do find that to be quite, interesting. Given.
But it is possible, because at some point, honestly speaking, there is a way this man was, first of all, carrying himself, the things he was doing, the orders he was issuing. Now, I know that he was the Inspector General of Police and whatnot, and that gives him power. But at some point, you could almost tell, like how you have an employee who acts like they're the CEO, yet you are the CEO, like they have usurped your power, and at some point it felt like that. So
I never got that sense. He always felt like he was, because if you were to ask the opposition politicians during his tenure as IGP, they'll tell you that he was harassing them at the behest of the state.
Well,
he seemed like a very obedient stooge of the state to most people.
That's what everyone said, but at some point it felt like he was acting on his own free will. And you see, let me relate it to the earlier discussion we had about coups. People like Kayihura and the power he had at that time can easily be the people who start or arrange coups. Now, if you're in power, if you're the boss, if you're the president, this is someone you want to teach a lesson. You want to clip their wings.
I understand that, but also another thing, and this is where, I know I'm skating on thin ice, but isn't Kayihura the kind of person who would have compromising information? Because I'm guessing the way you run a country is that there are certain things that will have to be done that may not entirely be, 100% okay.
I hear you.
But you just kind of get it done because it has to be done.
Yeah, but you see,
knowing where the
when you have, where the bodies are buried, even
proverbially
where the
speaking.
yes, where the weapons are.
Exactly.
Proverbially speaking, but yes, but you also know. For instance, let me relate this to the what do we call those drug families, like the Godfather?
Cartels?
The cartels. Let me relate it to the cartels, to the mafia. You may know where the bodies are buried. Why am I even going far? You may be Prigozhin. You know where the bodies for the Russian president are buried, whether proverbially or even literally. You know everything. But the minute you try to overstep, what happens? Your plane falls out of the sky.
Yeah, because typically, and if sometimes these guys seem to act with impunity, it could be based on the belief that, hey, I know all your secrets, so you better not mess with me.
So what do? You show them who is in charge.
So you mess with him and tell him, okay, what do you want to do?
So you wanted to show me that you know where the bodies are buried. Okay, tell
what
them.
What you gonna do now?
Who is gonna believe you now? So it looks like that is what happened with Kayihura. Honestly speaking, I feel that some of the things that he did, especially right before he was dropped as IGG, he had become a menace.
I mean, just ask FDC. Oh, they had it rough with Kayihura. FDC, Bessie J.
My goodness.
So very few could have ever suspected that he and the president were not seeing eye to eye. But anyway, now that the charges have been dropped, I guess this mean he's a free man? He can now live out the rest of his life peacefully?
Yeah, I don't know whether he can now serve again, can be appointed for office, any other office, public office again. But what I know is that recently he's been practicing law. He went back to his field and he has been practicing law. Though I think that is just to fill out his time and to be bored. Because I don't think any of his his property, I don't think it was attached. His riches, I think he still lives his life the way he has always lived it.
It didn't seem like he was being accused of corruption.
No,
so
but
that's
at
usually...
some point they had taken his passport, and at some point he had been confined to his home in Western Uganda. But now he's a free man. It means he can go for vacations if he wanted to take his wife to the Maldives. Or exile, whatever.
No, but I have a feeling he's going to come back. I feel like he's going to be active in the MK project because I do recall that the two
MK needs people like that around him.
Yes, and I do recall they were fairly close for a time. So I don't know. Maybe dropping the charges is a way to try to reintegrate him into the machinery, the political machinery of this country. And if he starts to be more active in future, don't be surprised. But I guess we'll see.
Time will tell.